You work hard. You save when you can. You try your best. So why does it feel like you're running in place? Why does it feel like no matter how much effort you put in, the finish line keeps moving further away? The answer is not your income. It's not your education. It's not even your luck. It's the way you think about money. This lesson is for English learners who want to grow their mind and their money. Because the truth is, wealthy people don't just work differently, they think differently. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how. Welcome. I will be your guide for the next 35 minutes. And I want you to stay with me all the way to the end, because what we're going to cover today is not a list of tips. It's not a get-rich-quick formula. It's something deeper. It's 10 mental shifts, 10 ways of thinking that separate people who build wealth from people who spend their whole lives wondering why it never comes to them. Most people are not poor because they're lazy. Most people are not broke because they don't work hard. Most people are struggling because no one ever sat them down and said, the way you think about money is costing you everything. Your mind is your first bank account. Before you earn your first dollar, before you open a savings account, before you make your first investment, your mind is already working for you or against you. And right now, for most people, it's working against them. So today, we change that. 10 shifts. Some will feel uncomfortable. Some will challenge what you've believed your whole life. Some will make you want to pause and sit quietly for a moment. Good. That discomfort is the first sign that something is shifting. You don't need a better job to start. You don't need more money to start. You need a different mind. And that starts right now. If you're serious about changing the way you think about wealth, subscribe to this channel right now. Because this is just the beginning. There is so much more coming. Now, let's get into Shift 1. Shift 1. Money is a tool, not a goal. Think about this. Most people spend their entire lives chasing money. They wake up Monday morning already tired, already counting down to Friday, already thinking about the paycheck at the end of the month. Money is the target. Money is the finish line. Money is the thing they're running toward. And that's exactly why they never catch it. Here's the difference between a poor mindset and a rich mindset. A poor mindset asks, how do I get more money? A rich mindset asks, what do I want my money to build? One is chasing, the other is building. When you chase money, every decision you make is short-term. You take the job that pays the most right now. You spend what you earn because the goal was to earn it, and now it's done. You feel successful for a moment, and then empty again because you haven't built anything. You've just collected and spent. When you use money as a tool, everything changes. You stop asking, how much can I earn? And start asking, how much can I build? You stop treating your bank account as a destination and start treating it as a foundation. Wealthy people are not obsessed with money. In fact, if you talk to most people who have built real wealth, they will tell you the same thing. The money was never the point. The freedom was the point. The choices were the point. The ability to wake up and decide how to spend their time, that was the point. Money is not the destination. Money is the vehicle. So ask yourself, right now, what are you actually trying to build? Not how much money do you want, but what kind of life do you want? What kind of mornings? What kind of freedom? What kind of future? Because once you know what you're building, money stops being something you chase. It becomes something you direct, something you deploy, something you use with intention. That is the first shift. And it sounds simple, but most people never make it. Most people go their entire lives running after something they never stopped to define. Your mind is your first bank account. And right now, we're making your first deposit. Shift 2. Invest time before money. Listen carefully. Before Kobe Bryant ever made a single dollar from a business deal, before he built a $200 million investment portfolio, before anyone called him a businessman, he was in the gym at 4 o'clock in the morning. Alone. Working on the basics, not the flashy moves, not the highlight plays. The basics, the footwork, the fundamentals, the things most people skip because they feel too slow, too boring, too unglamorous. Kobe didn't start investing his money until he had first spent years investing his time, his discipline, his attention. He mastered one domain completely before he moved his focus to the next one. And when he did move, he brought that same obsessive standard with him. By the time he retired, his investment fund had built over $2 billion in assets. Before they spent $1, they spent 1,000 hours learning. That's the shift. Most people want to start with money. They want to know where to invest, what to buy, which stocks to pick, which business to start. But they haven't invested in themselves yet. They haven't put in the hours. They haven't built the knowledge base that makes good decisions possible. Think of a young woman named Maya. She grew up in a family where money was always tight. When she got her first real job, she had two choices. She could spend her evenings resting, watching shows, letting the day end. Or she could spend 1 hour every night learning about money, investing, and financial systems. She chose the second option. Not every night, but most nights, for 3 years. By the time she started investing real money, she already knew what she was doing. She didn't gamble, she didn't guess, she moved with knowledge. And within 5 years, her money was working harder than she was. That's what investing time first looks like. It's not exciting. It doesn't make a great social media post. It happens in private, in the quiet hours when no one is watching. Most people want the result without the preparation. They want the return without the study. They want the harvest without the planting. Wealthy people understand one thing deeply. Knowledge is leverage. And leverage is how small effort produces large results. So before you ask where to put your money, ask yourself this: where are you putting your time? What are you learning right now? What are you building inside your mind? Because that is where wealth begins, not in a bank, not in a stock market, in your mind, in your discipline, in the hours you choose to spend when no one is watching. Shift 3. Get comfortable with risk. Stay with me, because this one is going to push back against something you were probably taught your entire life. You were told to be careful. You were told to save. You were told that a stable job is better than an uncertain opportunity. You were told that risk is dangerous, that risk is reckless, that smart people avoid it. And that advice, as well-meaning as it was, may have cost you more than you know. Here is what the 99% do. They see risk and they step back. They wait for certainty. They wait until the moment feels safe, until the numbers feel guaranteed, until everyone around them agrees it's a good idea. And by the time everyone agrees it's a good idea, the opportunity is already gone. Here is what the 1% do. They see risk and they study it. They don't ignore it. They don't pretend it isn't there. They look directly at it. They ask, what is the actual downside? What can I lose? Can I survive that loss? And if the answer is yes, they move. Safety is expensive. It costs you your future. Think about a man named Carlos. He ran a small business for 10 years. Steady income, manageable expenses, nothing exciting. For 10 years, an opportunity kept appearing in front of him. A chance to expand, to open a second location, to grow. Every year, he said the same thing. Not yet. It's not the right time. I need to be more stable first. Then, one year, someone else took that opportunity. Someone with less experience, less knowledge, and less preparation than Carlos, but more willingness to move. Carlos watched from the sidelines. He wasn't less capable. He wasn't less smart. He was less comfortable with uncertainty. And that discomfort was the wall that kept him exactly where he was. Now understand this clearly. Rich thinking is not reckless thinking. Wealthy people do not throw money at every idea that excites them. They take calculated risks. They study the downside. They prepare for failure while moving toward success. The difference is not that they feel no fear. The difference is that fear does not make the final decision. Poor thinking avoids risk entirely. Rich thinking manages it. So the question is not, how do I eliminate risk from my life? That question will keep you small forever. The right question is, how do I get better at understanding risk? How do I build the knowledge and the courage to move when the moment calls for it? Because at some point, every person who built real wealth had to make a move they weren't completely sure about. Every single one. And they made it anyway. Shift 4. Think in decades, not months. Now think about this. When Jack Ma was building Alibaba in the early days, his investors were pushing him. Move faster. Show profits now. Take Taobao public. Cash in. The market is hot. The timing is right. Everyone around him was thinking in months, in quarters, in the next financial report. Jack Ma refused. He said no to the rush. He said no to the short-term pressure. He kept building the foundation. He kept investing in the platform, in the people, in the infrastructure that no one could see yet, but that would matter enormously later. His own team thought he was moving too slowly. His investors were frustrated. The outside world didn't understand. But Jack Ma was playing a different game. He wasn't playing the next quarter. He was playing the next decade. And the result, Alibaba became one of the most valuable companies in the world. Not because Jack Ma was the smartest person in the room, but because he was the most patient. Poor minds ask, how do I survive this week? Rich minds ask, where will I be in 10 years? That single difference changes everything. When you think in weeks, every decision is reactive. You make choices based on what's urgent, what's pressing, what's in front of you right now. You put out fires, you manage crises, you survive. When you think in decades, every decision becomes strategic. You ask, does this move me toward where I want to be in 10 years? You stop reacting and start directing. You stop managing your present and start designing your future. Most people overestimate what they can do in 1 year, and they dramatically underestimate what they can do in 10. 10 years of consistent saving, 10 years of consistent learning, 10 years of building one skill, one relationship, one asset at a time. The math of 10 years is almost impossible to believe until you live it. Here is a simple exercise. Write down where you want to be financially in 10 years. Not vaguely, specifically. What do you own? Where do you live? How does your money work for you? What does a normal Tuesday morning look like? Now work backward. What needs to happen in year 5 to make year 10 possible? What needs to happen this year to make year 5 possible? What needs to happen this month? Suddenly, your decisions today stop feeling small. They stop feeling disconnected from your future. Every choice becomes a brick. And bricks laid consistently over 10 years build something that months of rushing never could. Patient thinking is not passive thinking. It is the most powerful and most disciplined form of ambition there is. Shift 5. Build systems, not just hustle. Let me make this simple. There are two kinds of people in this world: consumers and builders. Consumers trade time for money. They work, they get paid, they spend, they work again. The cycle repeats. There is nothing wrong with working hard. But if the only tool you have is your own 2 hands and the hours in your day, then your income has a ceiling, a hard ceiling, because there are only 24 hours, and you cannot work all of them forever. Builders think differently. Builders ask one question that consumers almost never ask. How do I create something that works even when I am not working? That question changes everything. James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, built one of the most successful books in the world, not by writing harder than everyone else, but by building a system. A consistent writing habit, a regular newsletter, a method for reaching readers that compounded over years. He didn't hustle his way to success in a single year. He built a system and let that system run. The result was a book that sold over 15 million copies and continues to sell without him writing a single new word. Small systems repeated consistently produce results that no single burst of hard work ever could. That is the power of compound thinking. Not compound interest in a bank account, though that matters too. Compound thinking in how you design your work, your habits, your processes. Working hard is good. Building something that works without you is better. Now here is the practical question. What can you systematize in your life right now? Maybe it's a small automatic transfer to savings every payday. Maybe it's a 30-minute daily learning block you protect like a meeting. Maybe it's one skill you build slowly but without stopping. You don't need a grand system. You need a consistent one. Because here's the honest truth. Most people work incredibly hard their entire lives and have very little to show for it at the end. Not because they were lazy, but because they were busy. There is a difference between being busy and being productive, between working in your life and working on your life. Builders work on their life. They step back, they design, they build things that run. If this lesson is speaking to you, hit subscribe right now, because we are only halfway through and the next 5 shifts are where things get even deeper. Don't miss them. Your mind is your first bank account, and right now, you're learning how to build it into something that works while you sleep. Shift 6. Pay yourself first. Hear me on this, because this shift is simple enough to explain in one sentence, but almost nobody actually does it. Every time you receive money, the first person you pay is you. Not your landlord, not your electricity bill, not your phone company, not the restaurant, the online store, the streaming service. You first. Always. Most people do the opposite. They receive their paycheck and immediately start subtracting. Rent, food, transport, bills, subscriptions, loans. And then at the very end of the month, if anything is left, they save it. They invest it. They put something aside for their future self. But here is the problem. There is almost never anything left. Because spending expands to fill whatever space is available. If you have money, you find ways to use it. Not because you are irresponsible, because that is simply how human psychology works. We spend what is present. We save what is protected. So protect it first. Remember Maya from Shift 2, the woman who spent her evenings learning about money? This was the second habit she built. Every single payday, before she paid anything else, she moved a fixed amount into a separate account. It didn't matter if the month was tight. It didn't matter if something unexpected came up. That amount moved first. Always. Without negotiation. In the beginning, the amount was small. Not impressive. Some months it felt almost pointless. But she didn't stop. She didn't negotiate with herself. She didn't say, I'll start properly next month when things are more stable. She moved the money first and figured out the rest after. 3 years later, she had an emergency fund that could cover 6 months of expenses. She had her first investment account. She had options she didn't have before. Not because she suddenly earned more, because she protected her future self before she spent on her present self. Every paycheck, the first person you pay is you. Now, you might be thinking, but I don't earn enough to save anything. And I understand that. I'm not dismissing how tight things can be. But I want to ask you something honestly. If your rent went up by a small amount next month, would you find a way to pay it? You would. Because it's fixed. Because it's non-negotiable. Because it has to be paid. Make your savings the same. Fixed, non-negotiable, has to be paid. Your future self is the most important bill you have. Start treating it that way. Shift 7. See problems as opportunities. Here's what most people miss. Every crisis has a market. Every problem has a buyer. Every painful gap between what exists and what people need is a door waiting for someone to walk through it. Most people see a problem and feel one of two things: frustration or helplessness. The problem is in their way. The problem is slowing them down. The problem is something to survive until things get better. Wealthy thinkers see the same problem and feel something different. They feel curiosity. They ask, who is suffering from this? How many people need this solved? What would someone pay to have this fixed? That shift in perception is worth more than any investment strategy. Think about Oprah Winfrey. She did not grow up with money or connections or any of the advantages that we assume successful people have. She grew up in poverty, in difficulty, in circumstances that would have crushed most people's ambition before it ever had a chance to grow. She experienced pain that was deep and real and not something she chose. But Oprah did something remarkable with that pain. She didn't hide it. She didn't pretend it hadn't happened. She brought it forward. She turned her own experience of suffering into a platform for connection. She built an empire not despite her struggles, but through them. Because she understood at a deep level what it felt like to need something and not have it. And she used that understanding to build something that millions of people needed. Every crisis creates a market. Every problem has a buyer. Now you don't need to build a media empire, but you do need to start looking at problems differently. The next time something frustrates you, something in your community, your workplace, your daily life, stop and ask a different question. Who else is frustrated by this? How many people feel this same thing? What would it look like to solve it? Because wealth is almost never created by doing something entirely new. It's created by solving something that already hurts. By finding the gap between what people have and what they actually need, and then filling it consistently with quality. Problems are not obstacles on the road to wealth. For people who think correctly, problems are the road. Your mind is your first bank account. And right now, you're learning to see the world not as a set of obstacles, but as a set of doors. The only question is whether you have the eyes to see them. Shift 8. Guard your mind from broke thinking. Take a breath, because this shift is the one most people don't want to hear. Not because it's complicated, because it requires looking honestly at the people around you, the content you consume, and the conversations you have every day, and deciding whether they are building your mind or quietly destroying it. Here is what neuroscience tells us. Your brain is not fixed. It is not set in stone at birth. It rewires itself constantly based on what you repeatedly think, hear, and believe. This is called neuroplasticity. And it means that every conversation you have, every video you watch, every voice you let into your mind is literally reshaping the way you think, for better or for worse. Now think about two people. Same neighborhood, same income, same starting point. The first person spends their evenings watching content that is entertaining but empty. They spend time in conversations about what other people are doing wrong, about why life is unfair, about why nothing ever changes. They absorb daily and quietly a set of beliefs that money is for lucky people, that the system is rigged, that trying harder doesn't work, that dreaming big is foolish. The second person makes different choices. Not perfect choices, not dramatic ones, just different. They spend 30 minutes a day reading about how businesses work, how money moves, how people have solved problems like theirs. They spend time with people who are building things, however small. They listen to conversations that stretch their thinking instead of shrinking it. 1 year later, the difference is small. 5 years later, the difference is visible. 10 years later, the difference is enormous. You become what you consume. Guard your inputs. Broke thinking is not just about money, it's a collection of beliefs. Beliefs that keep you small, keep you reactive, keep you focused on what's wrong instead of what's possible. And broke thinking spreads. It spreads through families, through friend groups, through the content we share and the stories we repeat. wealth thinking spreads too. It spreads through the books you recommend, the conversations you start, the questions you ask out loud in rooms where people are listening. So look honestly at your inputs right now. What are you watching? What are you listening to? Who are you spending your most important hours with? Are those inputs building the mind of someone who creates wealth? Or are they reinforcing the mind of someone who watches others do it? You cannot think your way to wealth with a broke mind. The upgrade has to come first. And the upgrade starts with what you let in. Shift 9. Build a network, not just skills. Pause for 1 second. I want you to think about the last 3 significant opportunities in your life. A job offer, a business introduction, a piece of advice that changed a decision, a connection that opened a door you didn't even know existed. Now ask yourself this: how many of those came from a skill you had? And how many came from a person you knew? For most people, the honest answer is uncomfortable. Most opportunities don't come from what you know. They come from who knows you. Your network decides your net worth. Now, I want to be clear about something. This is not about using people. This is not about collecting contacts like business cards in a drawer. That kind of networking is hollow, and everyone can feel it. What I'm talking about is something different, something more human. It's about building genuine relationships with people who are moving in the direction you want to go. Think about 2 people at the same skill level, same knowledge, same experience, same quality of work. The first person is a lone wolf. They put their head down, they work hard, they believe that results speak for themselves, that talent rises naturally, that the right people will notice eventually. They wait. The second person does something different. They show up. They contribute to conversations before they need anything. They help before they ask. They make introductions. They share what they know. They build trust slowly and consistently with people who are doing interesting things. 5 years later, both people have grown their skills, but only one of them gets the call when something important opens up. Only one of them is in the room when decisions are made. Only one of them has 10 people actively thinking about their growth, even when they're not in the room. The lone wolf is still waiting to be discovered. The connector is already building. Here is the practical truth about networks. You don't build them when you need them. You build them long before you need them. A network you build during a crisis is not a network. It's a cold call list. Real networks are built slowly, over shared experiences, over genuine curiosity about other people, over the habit of giving before you think about receiving. So start now, not when you're ready, not when your skills are good enough, not when you have something impressive to show. Start now with whoever is around you in whatever room you're in. Because the person sitting next to your next opportunity might already be in your life. You just haven't invested in that relationship yet. Skills open doors. People hold them open. Shift 10. Act before you feel ready. Listen closely, because this is the shift that separates everyone who has gone through the previous 9 from the people who will actually use them. You can know Shift 1. You can understand Shift 2. You can nod along to every single idea in this lesson and feel genuinely moved and genuinely motivated. And then you can close this video, go back to your life, and do absolutely nothing different. Because knowing is not the same as doing. Understanding is not the same as acting. And waiting until you feel ready is the most expensive habit in the world. David Goggins did not feel ready. He was overweight, working a dead-end job, and living a life he described as small and suffocating. He did not wait until conditions improved. He did not wait until he had more support, more resources, more confidence. He made a decision on an ordinary night in an ordinary house that his ordinary life was going to end. And he started moving before he felt capable of moving. What followed was one of the most remarkable transformations in modern memory. Navy SEAL, ultramarathon runner, record-breaking endurance athlete, author, speaker. None of it came from waiting for the right moment. All of it came from acting inside the wrong moment, the uncomfortable moment, the terrifying moment, and discovering that readiness is not something you feel before you start, it's something you build by starting. Waiting for the perfect moment is the most expensive habit in the world. Now think about the two kinds of people, quitters and players. Quitters are not lazy people. Most quitters are smart, capable, well-meaning people who simply decided to wait a little longer. Wait until they had more money. Wait until the kids were older. Wait until the economy was better. Wait until they felt more confident. Wait until the fear went away. And the waiting became the answer. The waiting became the life. Players make a different choice, not a fearless choice, not a perfect choice. Players feel the same fear, they feel the same doubt, they feel the same uncertainty. But they decide consciously and deliberately that the cost of waiting is higher than the cost of moving. So they move. Your mind is your first bank account, and the most important deposit you will ever make is the decision to act before you feel ready. Because here is the truth that no one tells you. You will never feel ready, not completely. Not for the things that actually matter. Readiness is a feeling that arrives after courage, not before it. It shows up once you're already moving, once you've already started, once you've already committed to the direction, even though the destination is still unclear. The perfect moment is not coming. This moment, right now, imperfect and uncertain as it is the only moment you will ever actually have. So what are you waiting for? You made it to the end, and that already tells me something about you. Most people don't finish. Most people skip ahead, get distracted, move on, before the lesson is complete. You stayed. That matters. So let's bring it all together. 10 shifts. 10 ways of thinking that separate people who build wealth from people who spend their lives wondering why it never arrives. Shift 1. Money is not the goal. Money is the vehicle. Define what you're building before you chase what you're earning. Shift 2. Invest time before money. Before you spend $1, spend 1,000 hours learning. Knowledge is leverage. Shift 3. Get comfortable with risk. Safety is expensive. Study the downside, then move anyway. Shift 4. Think in decades, not months. Patient thinking is not passive thinking. It is the most powerful form of ambition. Shift 5. Build systems, not just hustle. Working hard is good. Building something that works without you is better. Shift 6. Pay yourself first. Every paycheck before anyone else gets paid, you get paid. Fixed, non-negotiable. Shift 7. See problems as opportunities. Every crisis creates a market. Every painful gap is a door. Shift 8. Guard your mind from broke thinking. You become what you consume. Protect your inputs with the same seriousness you protect your money. Shift 9. Build a network, not just skills. Skills open doors. People hold them open. Start building before you need it. Shift 10. Act before you feel ready. Readiness arrives after courage, not before it. The perfect moment is not coming. Move now. 10 shifts. None of them require more money to start. None of them require a better job, a different city, or a different life. They require only one thing, a decision to think differently starting today. The 10 shifts are simple, but simple is not easy. Start with one. Just one. Today. Your mind is your first bank account, and today you made 10 deposits. Which of these 10 shifts do you need the most right now? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one, and if someone you care about needs to hear this lesson, share it with them today, not tomorrow, today. Keep listening every day, and your English will grow with your wealth. Thank you for being here. I will see you in the next lesson.